Alright, the day has finally come where we get to see Bleach Rebirth the Souls, not in a trailer, but actual gameplay. We get to see the voice actors messing around with the game and playing it and showing off some of the stuff the characters can do, and while they aren't, the best at the game, they don't know everything about it. We did get spoiled in the beginning with actual gameplay of Yoruichi and Ichigo, and it's between two people that seemingly know how to play the game fairly well. And we get to see the systems in actual play, so I'm going to use that to break down the gameplay instead of reacting to it. I'm going to try and break down everything as detailed and simple as I can, because I know a lot of people were having trouble. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it simple for everybody, but I don't want to take too long with this intro, so we can go right into it and we're gonna break down and see what Bleach is cooking. Now, first thing I want to start off with is the control scheme of the game. Now, throughout multiple points in this fight between Ichigo and Yoruichi, we see them do two different types of attacks. We see Yoruichi do a multitude of quick flurry attacks, and then we see Ichigo doing slow, heavy, like 3 swings, but he also has quick flurry attacks just like Yoruichi. So that leads me to believe that this game is definitely gonna have at least 2 buttons for the most part, light and medium. But we also see this red flash attack that they both do, and if you guys are familiar with Street Fighter 6, I'd say it's more akin to like something like a drive impact, sort of drive impact, or if you're familiar with Guilty Gear, you could even count it as like a dust attack in Guilty Gear. I know those two games, they're separate things, but you'll see why I bring up those two mechanics specifically when I mention that red attack. Like I said, I believe there's gonna be at least 2 to 3 buttons that's actual attacks, light, medium, and then the heavy button being the red attack. Now, the medium button could be the slower 3 slashes that Ichigo does, or it could also be the signature move that we've seen them talk about in the trailers a lot. Those could be like the character's unique actions. It's one or the other. I feel like it kind of depends on the character, but for what I'm seeing, that's kind of like where my head is at right now. Light, medium, heavy, and then your 4th button on your face button, whether that be X or A depending on your controller, would be your movement options, so you dashing, sidestepping, stuff like that. And then your bumpers and your triggers would be used for blocking, using your reverse action, and I think the triggers especially would be used for activating your special moves, holding down one of the triggers and then pressing one of the face button. Now, the reason I call the heavy attack the red attack or drive impact is there's multiple points in the trailer where you would see Yoruichi and Ichigo doing it, and if they do it at the same time, there's like a slowdown effect similar to like Tekken and like a Street Fighter when you're about to do drive impact on each other. Obviously, the person that reacts to the initial red attack, they beat out the first person, because it's kind of like a counter attack, so you read the counter attack and you stop them from doing it. That's where the drive impact interpretation comes from. Why I call it a dust from Guilty Gear as well is because it's also attached to the light flurry, like the light auto combo in the game. Once you mash the light, it automatically ends in that red attack that sends you into a launcher that's similar to how dust is used in Guilty Gear, or older Guilty Gears, even newer ones, basically, to launch. And in Guilty Gear, you launch them with the dust and you go into an air attack. In Bleach Rebirth the Souls, when you launch them with this red attack, you have the opportunity to finish them if they're at low health and take a stock off and get the round off. For the most part, I think Rebirth the Souls is going to be a 4-button game. I might be wrong on that, but that's just where I'm at right now to simplify things for myself, and it kind of makes sense, but we'll see when the game actually comes out. Now, getting into the part that I think most people had a big issue with was the actual Konpaku and Reishi system. The Konpaku, which I'm counting as the stocks, which is the 9 bars you have above the Reishi bar. So when I mention stocks, I'm talking about those 9 bars that are above the Reishi bar. And when I say Reishi bar, I'm talking about the health bar, which is the long white bar that's on screen. So if I say stocks, I'm talking about the Konpaku, and if I say health bar, I'm talking about the Reishi bar. So the confusing part to people was which one of these is your actual health bar, and then what do they do? So like I said, your health bar is the actual Reishi bar, the long white bar. Obviously, if that works like any other fighting game in general, you deplete that bar, you beat your opponent. Now, the stocks or the Konpaku, those are a little bit more intricate. If you take a look at them, there's 3 colors. There's white, orange, and yellow. The white bars are basically telling you how much total stocks you have, whether it be 9, 3, 2, whatever. Those are just the amount of stocks in general that you have. The orange portion is the amount of stocks that your opponent or you are guaranteed to take from one another when you beat them in a round. And the yellow portion, which is 9 times out of 10, like it's a singular yellow bar that's at the end of the orange bars. That is the maximum amount of stocks that you can take from your opponent or your opponent can take from you when your health bar is completely gone. Now, what determines how you take these stocks away from your opponent is very simple. At round start, you can see that your opponent has 3 stocks maximum that you can take away. As I said before, the orange stocks are guaranteed stocks, and the yellow stock is added onto those orange stocks to create the maximum. Now, when your opponent has red health, you are able to kill them early with the heavy attack, aka the red flash attack, and take 2 stocks away guaranteed at all times. Now, if you deplete your opponent's health bar completely to 0, there's no red health left, that's when you can take the maximum amount of stocks, which is 3, that's when you can take it all away. And this is basically how the game goes even when you're in Awakening, because once you're in Awakening, the amount of stocks you can take away increases from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. Obviously, the orange stocks increase from 2 to 3, and the maximum amount of stocks increased to 4 because the yellow stock is, added on. And there's also a third mode. Once you're in that secondary mode, which is called sublimation mode, that's when the amount of stocks that you can take away is increased from 3 to 4 to 4 to 5. And the maximum amount of stocks that you can lose at any given time once you're in that mode, which is basically only endgame, is 5 stocks. That includes the insta-kill, which the insta-kill really only counts for that round. It's not the entire game, even though it says insta-kill. You don't lose the entire game, you just basically lose that round entirely once that sublimation meter fills up. But the stocks, the rule for the stocks stays throughout the entire way. It doesn't matter how many stocks they have. Once your opponent is in red health, you can kill them early by hitting them with the red flash attack or the heavy attack. Once they still have some red health left, then you can take them out for the guaranteed orange stocks, or you can go above and beyond, take out the health completely and get the max amount of stocks you can get, which would be 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 depending on which phase of the game you're in. Either way, your goal is to end your opponent's stocks as quickly as possible, whether they're in red health, or take them out completely and get the maximum amount of stocks. It's really up to you depending on how the game is going and things of that nature. Hopefully that was less confusing than how it was being presented, but for the most part, 3 to 4 is the max that you'll probably be dealing with most of the game until you get super end game. Then you'll start hitting the 4 to 5 range. The next we have is the reverse gauge, or the reverse action gauge. Now these are the 2 white gauges at the bottom of the screen right under your EX meter. Now the EX meter is the yellow bar, and the EX meter, all you really need to know for that is those are where your special moves are linked. You have 2 special moves, or you have 3 special moves basically, but those are where your special moves are linked, and I obviously use the EX meters for that. Your reverse actions though, those are very interesting because those white bars give you access to a lot of the system mechanics in the game. It gives you access to a raw burst, which is basically a damage and attack speed buff if I'm not mistaken. You also have access to a defensive burst, which is basically a burst you use when you're getting comboed, so it's the get off me tool, and your meter goes down pretty fast. The reverse meter goes down pretty fast once you pop that, but it is a get off me tool and you can regenerate it as the game goes back on. You also have access to a combo burst. Now this basically is once you're comboing somebody and you pop the burst, you can extend the combo a little bit longer and basically just keep going with it. And there's also like a follow-up string you can do off of it. So if you hit the opponent away with like the red attack or heavy attack at the end of a string, I believe you can use a bar of the reverse meter to teleport behind them and continue the string. We see Yoruichi do it during the fight with Ichigo at the beginning of the stream. I don't know if that was a character specific thing, but it's something I noticed. So this one may or may not be character specific or tied to something Yoruichi has specifically, because we don't see it a lot, but it is good to take note of for now. The reverse meter is also used as like a supplement, like super meter in a way. Like you can use it for super moves and stuff like that. I don't know if it's like one of those things where you can use it if you don't have enough of an EX meter and you can just like use it in that way. I saw Yoruichi do it a couple times, and I saw a couple of the characters in the gameplay we see later do it. But again, this is something that you could, take with a grain of salt, but it's something I noticed that Yoruichi did a lot. So just in case, it's good to mention it either way. But yeah, the reverse bar is going to be a meter that you want to manage pretty decently, because it's, like I said, it gives you access to a lot of system mechanics in the game that are going to be used a lot throughout the gameplay. So that's a meter you're going to want to manage a lot. Awakening meter is pretty simple. The awakening meter, once the round starts, it fills up, and once the awakening pops up, you can use it to pop either Bankai or go into whatever install or enhancement your character has, whether it be Shunko or Chad with his arm. That's what the awakening is for. And then, like I said before, with the Konpaku situation, once that awakening is popped, the meter doesn't go away. It refills as you're taking damage and as you're doing damage to the opponent. It gained more of the meter as you're taking damage, obviously, because it's supposed to be used as a comeback mechanic. But as that meter goes up, you get put into the sublimation state, and the sublimation state, like I said before, increases the amount of stocks you're able to take away from your opponent from 3 to 4 to 4 to 5, and so on and so forth. You go into like the insta kills and stuff from that. One thing people were getting confused on was that if you go into awakening, you actually take more damage, or like your opponent does more stock damage to you. That's not how that works at all. When you go into awakening, you do more stock damage to your opponent. You take off more stocks. They don't take off more stocks from you. Also, when you go into awakening, it's also a damage increase, and your moveset, depending on your character, your moveset does change. So like if you're Yoruichi, your attacks get a little bit faster. If you're Byakuya, you become more of a long range, mid range zoner type. and your reverse bar actually increases from 2 to 3. So you have a lot more to work with and a lot more to manage over there. And like I said, once you pop Awakening, whatever install you have from Awakening, it never goes away. You're always in that state for the rest of the match. That's why the meter refills to do something else. Now hopefully that explained a lot of the meters and all the bars on screen for everybody, so that they're not like super complicated. I'll probably have them, I'm gonna have them typed out on screen too, so even if I like how I'm saying it is kind of confusing, you can just read it on screen and hopefully it's like a little bit clearer to you if you're like more of a visual person than audio. I'm gonna try, like I said, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible because I know like a lot of people are confused with how the game works and stuff like that, so hopefully this describes it a little bit better for you. If you have any questions that I might not have gone into super deep detail with, leave that in the comment section down below. I'll try to help you in the comments as much as I can. I'm super excited for the game. I'm really loving the gameplay I've seen so far. I'm probably gonna go back and watch it 100 more times to make sure like I get it like ingrained to my brain. But with all that being said, that's gonna be from me. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'm out of here. So, boy.